All right, I don't know what time it is on your clock, but I know what I'm getting ready for. It is time for the Professional CISO Podcast with David Malicoat.
Welcome to the Professional CISO Podcast. My name is David Malicoat, and I'm your host. This show is an exploration of those topics necessary to transform the CISO role into one of a professional. Ultimately, I think we can all agree, or at least I hear quite a bit of this, is CISOs are missing from C-suites and boardrooms. Main issue is we're not at the table. We're not at those tables having those critical discussions when those critical issues come up in organizations. And we should be. I truly believe that we should be. But we do have a tech risk dilemma. We have high stakes, and obviously we're seeing with the SEC and a lot of the enforcement actions that are happening now. We got high stakes and low recognition. So we're dealing with major tech risks on behalf of our organizations, yet we're sidelined, generally speaking, as a group. Also, we have what I call the industry echo chamber. I hear a lot of complaints with no solutions. Been to countless conferences, read a ton of articles, listened to countless podcasts, and they echo this. And to me, it's like this merry-go-round. And it goes around and around, and we talk about the same thing, but we really don't get to the basis of the issue, nor to anything that's a solution to help us understand and drive this thing forward. We're not getting those critical conversations happening. I see them happening, but they happen in pockets. And the goal is to be a central place where we can have these conversations where everyone can come and listen and contribute and move the dialogue forward of how we solve that problem. Now, the other side of this is I'm going to give you a little bit of a curveball. CISOs, we're not ready for the big leagues. One of the common CISO downfalls that I see is that vast majority of CISOs are tech smart, but business naive. This is the reason why we are not getting invited to the party. Now, don't get me wrong. We have old school cybersecurity, and I say old school, older school, but it's a tech focus over that business savvy, right? And that's what you had to do to be successful. So it's not your fault. I'm not sitting here placing blame and saying, oh, you messed up. You developed your career in the wrong way. That's not where I'm headed with this, because that's what made us successful up to this point. You had to be a tech savvy tech expert to get where you're at today. But now things are changing. The ground is shifting under our feet. And the difference is how you respond. So what's our mission here at the Professional CISO? Well, we're going to challenge norms. We're going to broaden perspectives. Hopefully, we come with an open mind. Come listen, see what people have to say. You may disagree with them, but ultimately, we're here about solutions. That's why we're diving into this. That's why we're pushing it forward. Drive the evolution of the CISO role. Challenge and evolve it. Make ourselves uncomfortable to the point where we have to move into the direction where the demand is at from our organizations. Who's the target audience? Well, there's many different groups. One is security practitioners. And this is what I would call the future CISOs in the making, right? These are the folks that we want to talk about, where this is the generation that current CISOs like me, we're going to hand this over to. These are going to be the next folks that are going to be sitting in these seats. Are we going to relegate them to a position where they're just technical experts and they don't have that broader perspective, but they still have the C title? I think that's doing them a disservice. I also want to talk to other C-suite executives. So not just have C-suite executives listen, but I want to have them on as well. I want to have CEOs, CIOs, CFOs, board members. I want to have this discussion with them, but I also want them to listen to this, right? I want them to be able to redefine what they expect from the CISO role, so they know where this is going, and we can meet them where they are going as well, because everybody's moving, everybody's evolving. So another piece is how how can one of these executives either pick or help pick a CISO, their next CISO, that is not just a tech wizard, but a business savvy leader as well. So the goal is to have on the show a wide range of these type of roles so that we can hear from our constituents. Ultimately, too, we can help guide them, right? How do you select your next CISO that's not just solving technical problems for you, but is a business savvy leader and one that you want to invite to the table? Also, knowing that we work in an ecosystem, vendors. I need the vendors at the table, right? They have a perspective. Also, they have a need to be able to understand how this thing is evolving, how this role is evolving, to be able to plan that in their roadmaps for their products to help support us. And they get the opportunity to help drive and broaden the cybersecurity ecosystem conversation. What better way to be good partners than to help us elevate ourselves? Rising tide, right? With all boats, everybody rises up. And then finally, today's CISOs, and last but not least for sure. So we must adapt or overcome. We will be sidelined and relegated if we do not do this. And then think about what would happen to the future generations as well. So we need to have that ability to inward look at ourselves and say not just what are we doing for ourselves and how we can help our own careers or our own station in life, but also what do we leave behind? What does our legacy look like? I see this, I see the patterns, I talk to people, I have these conversations. Again, when I started looking around, I'm not finding any place where we're seeing solutions. So to have that ability to say, well, look, I'm a problem solver. I'll get myself in front of this camera. I'll have the conversations. I'll ask the questions. I'll play the dummy sometimes, right? But at the same time, hopefully I can bring a perspective to this that will be engaging and have folks thinking about what we're doing as a role, as a group of people, as an industry. Now, I do want to say this. This is not a how-to course. This is not here are A, B, C, D steps in a process that you do to go do something. This is a journey. This is about shaping the future of the CISO role. Now, how are we going to do it? We're going to tackle some of these hard topics. Shake up the status quo, right? And maybe ruffle some feathers. And I would say probably more than maybe. The goal here is to make sure that, it's not shock jock. I'm not looking just to poke people in the eye, but at the same time, my goal is to make sure that if we have an elephant in the room, that we address the elephant. And if we have people out there that are spewing what most people would think is BS, that we call it out. Because in the end, the only way we can get this whole thing better is by having these critical conversations. We're going to disagree. But can we disagree in a professional way? And this is a journey, not a formula. This isn't about having all the answers. It is a self-reinvention journey. So no more asking for directions. No more sitting around talking about how we don't have a seat at the table, but with no real answers as to why. We need to close the tech business skill loop within ourselves. So on this journey, think of me as your guide, kind of like Disney Jungle Cruise maybe. Maybe it's going to be a little bit of fun, right? We'll have some fun. It's not all serious, right? You can be professional and not necessarily have to be doom and gloom all the time. We'll have some laughs. We'll have some inspiration. We'll have some the ability to maybe even poke fun at ourselves every once in a while. But ultimately, we'll have to have the tough conversation. So there'll be some levity to all this. But that's how we grow. I'm all about building people up. I'm all about making sure that we elevate ourselves in our profession. We need to have a sense of urgency to professionalize the CISO role. But it's time. It's time to earn our place at the table and no longer just hope for an invite. So let's get started. Let's professionalize the CISO role. Follow, engage, challenge. Let's make this happen. Until next time, I wish you health, happiness, and success on your journey to becoming the professional CISO. Let's do this.
We're professionalizing the CISO role, so please subscribe to the Professional CISO Podcast.